as part of SMA Awareness Month, we're doing lives every few days. And today's is with Ian Laker from GBL Wheelchairs, which is a company run solely by wheelchair users themselves. And he's going to be telling us today about lightweight wheelchairs and what seating options people have in terms of SMA. So I'll hand over to Ian.
Hello everyone, nice to meet you all. Hope you're all well and safe. We do, as a company, a simple aim is to make kids and adults as able as possible in their wheelchairs. So we try and provide the greatest range of lightweight wheelchairs available. We have had a particular success with SMA, very young children from the age of 1 upwards, with a chair range from Sweden called Pantera. They produce a uniquely lightweight chair frame, lighter than most, well, pretty much every other chair on the market, and with a design that is based on sports chairs, really. So they are incredibly light to turn and push. The younger chairs that start at 1 year of age are particularly designed as what we call indoor trainer chairs. And the pure idea is that if a child can be using a wheelchair now, they stand a chance of building muscles, core strength, confidence, and coordination, whereas pretty much all other kids' wheelchairs will stop that or prevent that. So that makes it something a child can't learn. We've seen a huge success over the years with children getting able to be more independent and moving into the heavier, more adult frames. What makes the indoor chair very remarkable is it's basically a one wheel, a little caster at the front, 2 really angled rear wheels with tires only, that same as you would see on a marathon wheelchair. And the front is like a marathon wheelchair. So essentially, it's just all geared to perform for the child. I've lost the picture, so I don't know if I'm still on. Hello?
Yes, you are. Sorry, I just had to turn my camera off for a second, but you're still on.
Oh, that's okay. So what happens really is, the idea is to give an opportunity. We don't say it works for all cases, but it does. We do find the need for the kids to have stability in the form of belts. If we can help it, the minimal amount of strapping and seating support as possible, because we find a lot of the more aggressive posture controls prevent mobility. It stops the child feeling the wheelchair and moving the wheelchair. So you're trying to combine what's safe and still allows function. So in reality, we do use normally lap belts. We do use some mild, thinner posture cushions, and we can provide like headrest support as well, so that if a child gets tired or their head falls back significantly, or say they do crash into an object and it causes like a whiplash effect like you would in a car, that the cushion will prevent too much injury or pain or discomfort. And that applies right the way through to the next generation. There's Pantera do a range that means you can move from 1 year of age in small increments right the way through, well, to you're an adult essentially. But in the young ones, they've got some really small ones, smaller than anybody else does on the market really, as a standard. The seats are adjustable in depth, foot plates are adjustable, back heights are all adjustable. So you can really set the chair up to meet each child's requirements. It isn't a one-off hit process. You have to have the chair. The child needs to learn to use it. You have to be patient. Luckily, kids have fast learn. You put their hands on the wheels normally and just push the wheels. They will understand what it does. And if you've got a good solid floor, don't do this on carpets. You want a good wood floor, a very solid floor. You'll be potentially amazed how much maneuverability and fun the child has. They're more really available to a child to understand than say a power wheelchair, because they are intuitive. The movement patterns the child feels, and as I say, core strength, center of, you know, your balance and your inner ear, they're all suddenly being used in a way that they may not have had an opportunity to use before. So you don't know where that will take you, but the key is to let them have a go. And as they get stronger, see how far that goes. And I say, we are seeing, as you'll see from many members on your group who have had these chairs for some years and moved through the whole ranks, we've seen amazing success. So it is worth doing. I think that's all I can say for the moment.
We have got a few questions.
Okay.
So how many versions of the Pantheras are there, and what age or weight and height do they go up to?
There are multiple versions through the age. I mean, we'll start with the kids ones. You've got what we call the micro, which is the smallest one, age 1 to 3. And then the next one technically is 3 to 5, is called a bambino. But we often use what we call a bambino hybrid. So what we do is we take some of the features of the micro, i.e. smaller, lighter wheels and smaller casters and a more sporty active to keep the weight down and to keep the maneuverability in. So you can have it in stages. So you can build up to what you see a traditional wheelchair has, which is larger wheels with a hand rim. The real issue that people have to bear in mind is that the number of wheels on the ground, casters and rear, is what gives drag factor. So by using smaller sports casters and more camber, we can reduce the amount of effort it takes to turn the chair and push the chair. So we have 3 stages that, depending on the growth patterns, we have do know that SMA is not always a disability group that grows quickly. So therefore you can get a longer lifespan than say other disability groups we deal with. We try to get 3 years per you know, assessment, if you like, from what we do. Sometimes we've had 5 or 6 years, and the chairs can be reused again with, you know, you can sell them on to other people or move them on or part exchange them in. So we're trying to also save on the cost to parents of having to try and look after disabled children, because I know from personal experience it's not cheap. Then they go right through the range. I mean, Pantera are famous for the lightest chair in the world for adults. It's called the X, like the X Factor. The whole frame is only 2.1 kilos. So a bag of sugar or 4 pints of milk in the UK would give you what the whole chair weighs with the wheels on, which nobody ever believes, but it's true. The micro starts around 4 kilos, 4.2, and then you steadily going up about half a kilo through the ages, really, in frames. There are more choices. They've got everyday models. Later on, there's models with swing away hangers. So if you're able to stand or foot propel, you've got models of versions that allow you to use all your limbs to propel with if you want to.
I was about to say that the weight you said about the bag of sugar, it means the wheelchair is lighter than my Chihuahua. So that just shows how light these chairs are.
Yeah, probably Chihuahuas are quite small, but yeah.
So this leads, that your kind of answers led to another couple of questions that we've got already, and is, do these chairs exist for adults?
They do, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, our company, we do 17 manufacturers currently, over 200 models. We are literally specialising in active, anything that gets you active. We've got super light wheelchairs at the 3.4 kilo down to 2 kilo range. We've got carbon fibre, titanium, super light aircraft aluminium. We do every attachment you can think of. We can get you off-road, we can get you powered assist, and most of these chairs are all compatible. So today, the world's more open to us than it ever has been. And compared to what I had when I started, it's so different. Technology, you know, cruise control power assist now. You can drive your power wheelchair, you can drive your chair with a watch on your hand. So these are all things that are available. Unfortunately, we still pay a price for disability. It's never going to change because we still find the money. So people will keep charging us, I think. I'm in the business, so I sort of understand it and hate it at the same moment.
And that kind of leads to the next question, which is, because they are so expensive, is there any type of loan scheme or anything to be able to get these chairs?
Here in the UK, there are a lot of charities for kids, thank goodness, because they've been a lifeline for many, many people for many years, and there is a wide range. They have, a lot of them do not have means testing for parents even, but some now have had to, due to the recent funding dry up due to various problems in the world. But most of the time, unfortunately, you have to find the money privately. We don't provide any funding schemes or anything like that. It's not something that has really been needed. Our governments in some countries, here in the UK, parents can get a voucher from their local wheelchair service, which is called the personal wheelchair budget now, but it isn't going to be a huge amount, and there will be guidelines and restrictions. I will say that tragically, I think SMA would be looked at a disability like many others, where they would not see the value of a lightweight wheelchair to get as kid as mobile and active as possible. They do it at all ages. They make clinical assessments based on where they think you'll be, rather than ever giving you an opportunity to find out where you'll be. And I'm sure every parent or anybody listening will know how true this is. And we're pigeonholed and put in boxes, and you get, so it will vary from region to region considerably. But as I say, we try to offer a scheme. So if you start with one Pantera with us, you're guaranteed an exchange for trading that chair into the next size. There's been some local SMA parents who have formed and bought secondhand. There's a very active used market, which I think's what it's designed for. Pantera in Sweden is actually the government issue. So if you're in Scandinavian countries, you would be issued this almost automatically, but that's not true of most countries. So they built a chair, and they built the design across the whole range is designed to be reused. So I've done it for now over 25 years. I've had micros with 4 or 5 kids now. So, so there's an active market, which is good.
Yeah, that's really good. And I mean, I know with my wheelchair services, and unfortunately they can often be a postcode lottery as to what you're entitled to. I mean, when I went for the new chair I'm in now, last year my area didn't provide a voucher for electric wheelchairs, only manuals. So it is very much a postcode something.
Yeah, there is a national body. We do have a national wheelchair forum, but there's no power there, and each trust can enforce what they wish. Really, they can interpret it. It's a shame, because there should be more guidelines.
I was ready to fight it and obviously say, look, this isn't fair. This is almost like discriminatory because I can't use a manual chair, or a manual chair isn't applicable to me. Then I can't get a voucher, and that didn't sit right with me, because if anything, electric wheelchairs are a lot more expensive than manual ones, and they're a lot more difficult. But fortunately, I got full charity funding, which I was really thankful for, as I was just under 25, so that made a lot of difference. But I think that's definitely something that we need to start standing up for ourselves a bit in terms of that, because things shouldn't be a postcode lottery.
Well, we did years ago. All the disability groups got together and fought to get a voucher. We need, unfortunately, it's like refreshing. It's like pushing a refresh button on the computer. We all need to get together again, and because this applies to all disabilities, certain disabilities are appallingly assessed and not looked after. I was very militant in my youth. I'm old now, so I've sort of mellowed a bit, but it still gets me going.
Yeah. So with obviously new treatments for SMA that are coming in, it probably means that a lot more people are going to be looking at these kind of chairs, because even if it's not something you could be sat in all day, and I mean, I know a lot of us, especially adults, probably would need their electric chairs to go around day to day, but these could almost be used as a physio to a sense.
I absolutely totally agree with you. We live in a world where you need to exercise. We don't have many ways to be fit or to have fun even. This could be regarded as your play wheelchair if you're young, or just your you know, power chairs do a job, but they are quite cumbersome. They take a lot of maneuvering around. They don't go into everywhere. Transportation can be an issue. So a good lightweight manual wheelchair, that even if you, I've always said, if you can do a few feet and at least change your direction or go and look at a different bookshelf or a different shop, you know, then it's something you should try to keep doing.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it'd help arm strength.
But I say,
maybe
oh, sorry.
core strength. Well, do they help core strength as well with
Absolutely.
balance?
Yeah, I mean, the reality of, I mean, my other profession was a wheelchair basketball. So I was an international coach and GB player. So for me, you need to use your body. You need to use what you've got left. That's the only way to keep vaguely fit. You know, it's not even about being super fit or anything like that, or being a Paralympian. It's about just using muscles and keeping what you've got going for as long as you can. You know, it's and we don't power, you know, if everything's done for you, your muscles don't work. They just go to sleep. They just don't, you know, and they get worse. So it's important to use what you've got for as long as you can.
Yeah, and I think another question which I think will be quite important to a lot of people with SMA is, can these wheelchairs have a headrest fitted?
Absolutely. And there's a lot more work now coming into the smaller market. Historically, there's been a problem with the smaller chairs because kids weren't issued chairs. I mean, it is recently, you know, like power chairs. You can get a kid's power chair for under 5 years of age or something. Now we're getting smaller power chairs. We've got smaller manual chairs. So they're now having to redesign smaller equipment, which includes, there's a company called V-Track working with Pantera, and they're trying to look into much more, I would call it aggressive, but much more supportive type, but headrests and side supports and laterals and things like that. But, and as I say, it's about bearing in mind how, you know, it's a bit like wearing a brace. If you want to, or doing a sport, if you're going to do a sport in a wheelchair, you don't put on a big, huge, heavy raincoat and gloves. You won't be able to do a lot. So you've got to sort of balance everything with what you do a bit. But certainly there is more available now. Pantera do have a headrest cushion, which is fully crash tested. Their chairs are fully crash tested to be transported in. So that's across the whole of Europe. So, and they do a nice economical foam one. That doesn't mean you're going to spend £200 just to have a headrest, which I think is appalling. But we need more SMUF. We need more technology in that, in the smaller end.
Yeah, definitely. And I think compared to what I'm just thinking back to when I was little and I see these little whizzy bugs now and things like that, which would have been absolutely brilliant to have, because I got one, I think, just before I was 5, maybe 4 years old. But there's just so much on the market now with so many. It is great, the amount of choice that is on the market now.
But the price is terrible. Don't you? That's the big worry for me, is that it's seating particularly, and kids' chairs. There's a lot of chairs out there that are a lot of money.
From what I can remember, as far as, because I had a private chair from when I was 10.
Okay.
Even then, there were a lot of money. It's just something. I mean, they are custom made. They are made to order, so it's a difficult one because we won't be able to be who we are without them. But at the same time, it is a lot of money. But I think sometimes it's worth spending that a little bit more to get a chair that really does suit you, rather than one that you can make do with but isn't perfect. And I mean, seating wise, I've always had mine through the NHS. So I've had private wheelchairs with NHS seating, which for me, it's just the best way to do it personally. Other people, everyone's different, so things work differently for everyone.
I think the problem is if you've got to find good seating advice, and you know, so wheelchair services and the price of seating it is worth doing what you said. I wouldn't disagree with that entirely. And seating is really personal. You know, all of us in our organisation, we're all on different cushions and setups. But I think if the world wanted it, they would go, right, okay, you all need one cushion if it's everyone. It wouldn't work. It never would.
It's so true, and I think that's why it's so important to try wheelchairs and get something that really does suit you and really does offer what you need. And I think, and this kind of leads to the next question from another adult, which is, I'm looking at starting treatment, and do you think these lightweight manual chairs are a good thing to look into in terms of helping to build muscle and things like that? And I think we kind of have already answered that in terms of yes.
I would say I'll add some things. I mean, a good lightweight wheelchair will actually save you. It will slow down your muscle building because it's doing some of the work for you. So like if I was teaching sport, we would actually get you to do a weight program or something as well, because a lot of people who acquire disabilities will not necessarily have the arm strength or muscles already there. So you've got to rebuild. I mean, that leg muscles for a lot of people will be there, but not necessarily arms, because not everybody uses their arms in a very physical manner. So, but you've got to build up in two ways. So you need exercise and a good wheelchair, and also wheelchair skills, because wheelchair skills substitute for strength. If you can learn how a wheelchair functions and moves, and you can use it, you know, like with just less movement and effort, and there's loads of little skills like how to open a door and use your body weight to use so those things all are valuable to learn, but you need a good wheelchair to do that as well. But made to measure is, for me, obviously the ultimate aim, because we are all different sizes.
We've got another question again from, well, this is for both child and adult, but how can a manual chair offer supportive seating if the child or adult has very weak muscle tone?
Okay, well, there's a number of ways to I mean, muscle tone is something, you've got normally two paths of movement, sideways or forwards or backwards. So most of the chairs we have will have a backrest angle, and they will have what's called tension adjustable backrests upholstery. On rigid chairs particularly, which is what we're doing, that is quite a good function, and it works quite well. On folding wheelchairs, you tend to not have such a good system, so they don't angle. And then you can fit lateral supports in. This is where you got this level, what I'm saying about level of support needed. The more support, the more you hamper the ability to maneuver or move the chair, or even lean out, for a child to learn to lean to pick up something or to touch something. So it is a fine line, but there are lots of small backrests now that, you know, you can have shell backrests, multiple seating cushions, your seat angle, the cushion style, you know, if you've got, and side guards. Do you know side guards, the bits that are sort, not armrests, but side guards. Armrests will get in the way a bit of pushing. But a lot of, like Pantera has a armrest that can be both a side guard, height adjustable and depth adjustable. So you can use them as lateral support. So say a child plays for a while just using like a neoprene chest strap to hold them back, so they can move back and forwards, but the neoprene helps them come back. And then you put the armrest on when they're tired, so the child can put their arms on the armrest to just take the weight away from them. But there are backs that can, you know, you can go full Monty with seating and back. You can have a whole fully molded system put in. I've seen have a company called Delicon. They do fully molded carbon seats that go into Bambinos and things like that. But you're talking inactivity, then not activity. And that is a very different thing in types of wheelchair we do.
Okay, great. Got another question. Is there a cushion that can help with hip dislocation? And can we get some lessons about the wheelchair skills, as with able-bodied parents, we can't teach them that?
Again, there are a couple of charities that have wheelchair training courses here in the UK. You've got the Association for Wheelchair Children, or Get Kids Going, they're called now. Whiz Kids do training. There are some private people doing adult training. But apart from that, really, it's almost difficult to get it. There are a lot more videos on YouTube and stuff like that now that you can watch. But I actually think parents could get into a wheelchair and be taught quite a few skills. I normally can teach an able-bodied person how to do a wheelie in 30 minutes in a wheelchair. So learning skills, but the basic pushing skills, there's about half a dozen that are learnable from watching people who do sports on, as they YouTube and things like that.
Okay, great. Sorry, I've lost my place to questions. Let me just find them again.
That's okay.
Do manual chairs keep the spine flexible or encourage a curve if static with no support laterals? If so, can these be added?
So there's several theories. I mean, this is, and obviously I'm very generalization here because the spine is quite can bend in multiple angles and ways. You've got lordosis, kyphosis, scoliosis, you know, all go. But in theory, we go for what's called an immersion theory, which is where we have the back main posts are straight up, and then we sag the backrest straps so you can literally sit the person back into it, so that the side posts are almost doing some of the support and the backrest takes up the rest of the back shape. If you've got real spinal issues though, a lot of the kids we see will have spinal jackets or be looking at even rods in the future, operations like that. So it becomes a bit more complex. So as a general answer, I don't think a tension adjustable backrest will be supported enough for somebody with severe spinal problems, no.
Okay. Another question is, are the Pantheras used in the Paralympics?
Pantera don't actually have, they're an everyday chair market. So you will see them being used by Paralympic athletes, but not in any specific sport setting. So, for example, you might see them the curling. If you've ever seen wheelchair curling, you'll see a lot of Panteras there because soup for some reason. They're also really used in wheelchair dance, which is not very popular in the UK. But if you look at the professionals in Germany and Malta and stuff like that, some of the top ballroom dancers use the Pantera X or the U3 Lite because it is so super light to spin and turn and everything. But they don't do a specific Paralympic chair. It will just be more likely to be the user's everyday chair. So I'm sure the Swedish national team, for example, male and female, would be jumping out of their Panteras and into their sports chairs to do the sport. That's where you're likely to see it.
Okay, great. I think we kind of covered this slightly already, but I'll ask again because someone's asking, what is the growth you can get out of a chair? My daughter is on her 4th and is 8. Is there any way of extending the lifespan of it?
Well, I like to, as a company, we like to work and we try and always guarantee 3 years. Now, this is where experience comes in. The way chairs are measured, people measure the body, but you've actually got to have experience to measure the body, anticipate where the growth will be, and include that into your specification. What Pantera do is all their chair seats for their kids and into their adults have adjustable seat depths, because we tend to find that most kids grow longer before they grow wider. So it is really down to experience. If somebody's only 8 and they've had 4 wheelchairs already, I would say that some of the chair measures weren't quite as well done as you'd like. So, for example, we would do a chair slightly wider, but we'd have some foam spacers put between the hips and the side guard to give you, say, another year or 2 if you thought they were going to get too wide too quickly. As I say, the seat depth is covered in Pantera quite well. I mean, there's lots of chair choices. If you think somebody's going to be exceptionally tall, they actually have some special range models for that. So I think it's a measurement exercise, really, in my view.
Okay. Another question is, do the seating options change from the adult to the children chairs? I think person's meaning like with the adult chairs possibly being bigger, is there more room for more supports and things like that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I said earlier on, the small chairs on the market, the tinies and stuff like that, we're only starting to now develop small product. Historically, pretty much a lot of the what are advertised as kids chairs sold by most companies are shrunk adult chairs. So they've just taken the adult frames and shrunk them down a bit. So you get a lot of inherent clashes with equipment. But Pantera actually build specifically for the age. So that's why they're a bit different. There are chairs that claim to be growing chairs where you can extend the seat frame or the seat width, but they will be heavier frames by definition because there'll be so much more material to do it. But in adult chairs, as I say, you get a huge choice on everything. Seating, we do a 7 to 9 ranges from around the world on seating. There's almost too much of it, and it's even more overpriced than the chairs are, really.
Yeah, and I think just leading on from that, because okay, I'll say as a question from me. I'm looking at hopefully starting treatment soon, and I think it is something that I could possibly use at home for a couple of hours a day just to kind of work my muscles, like you said. But I have very specific seating and I struggle to sit on anything but the seat I've currently got. Would the Pantera take my seat that is in my current chair? Like, because it's on Velcro, so I can lift it out.
Yeah, there's no reason. You can move a cushion across, no problem at all. Your power chair, probably without seeing your hips and stuff like that, I suspect your power chair would not be as truly made to your bottom size as a manual chair would be. So you might find that the cushion's very wide for the manual chair that would suit you.
Yeah, my cushion is NHS, so it's just a standard. It's about this wide.
Wow. I mean, I can't obviously see your hips, but your shoulders. Obviously, in chair maneuverability, we try to keep. We're looking at your power line, which is your shoulders and your arms, and near the wheels. The further you have to spread your arms out wide to sort of like reach the wheels, the harder you will be to push. Plus, you'll move around in the chair a lot more, and your core will be affected. So you're trying to get a really good tight fit to try and make sure that you are held by the chair to do the maneuvering you want to do.
Okay.
I would say you would need I would actually not do that. I would have a specific cushion for the manual wheelchair. But what you could do is take some of the features of the cushion you've got. For example, is it a contoured cushion? Does it have what's called an abductor wedge and hip guides or anything like that?
To be honest, it's a very basic J2 seat, but it's the only thing I can sit and balance on.
Okay. Well, J2 is by definition a really old cushion. I mean, it's still sold extensively in numbers in the UK, but it's been replaced by many other models since. I have lots of clients who never could sit on anything but a J2. But even the J2 today is thicker than the J2 as it originally was built. The base is a lot thicker and firmer. But I mean, there are better cushions, I think, out there. And particularly for a manual wheelchair. So we'll talk back to Pantera X. The J cushion would be heavier than the Pantera X. But comfort. Yeah, sorry.
You have to be careful with seating, adding weight on to then make the chair more difficult to use.
Yeah, we have lots more lighter cushions with lots more contouring. So you've got a variety. You've got gel, you've got honeycomb foams, you've got tea bag cells, you've got mixtures of those combinations, those types of products now. So to be fair to the wheelchair service, they have to stay with probably what they know because they don't have the money to go around experimenting with every type of cushion. A lot of them will buy what the best money they can get. And they don't have a chance. You don't have a chance to sit on how many ranges. And I will say one other thing: as a disabled person, if you've sat on the J2 and it's worked for you, it almost will be impossible to move because we just get used to what we get used to. It's like having, if they're stuck you in a different powered wheelchair with everything in the different place, you'd struggle with it initially. But manual chairs are even more like that.
Yeah, I mean, I sat on, they asked me to try one of the, is it the tea bag seating?
Yeah,
I was
Vicars, yeah.
placed on it, I was like, nope, and got them to take me straight back off it because I could just tell straight away. So I think that is another thing that I think if any adults who are watching are looking at tiny chairs, we maybe need to be a little bit more flexible when it comes to trying new seating rather than just sticking to what we've always known. It can be very, very difficult, especially if you feel like you're losing your balance. It can be quite scary.
Well, the teabag one, you see, the teabag one has got a great idea, but there's a version where it has a solid front and then the tea bags are only at the back.
Yeah, but
Now, and that's far more effective in my view.
yeah, that sounds like it'd be a lot better.
But there are, I mean, you know, there are lots of cushions out there and we are all so different. You know, I suspect you might have a bony bum without being rude. And most people do. We lose our tissue, you know, our tissue doesn't get used, so we don't have firm bottoms. So you do need a lot of support down that end.
Yeah, and that was the next thing I was going to ask is how do we go about getting pressure relieving qualities within these chairs?
Well, well, again, I will say that cushions are highly the main thing everybody looks at, and everybody claims to have higher pressure ratings than everybody else. And there are these pressure mapping systems, but they're only guides. The reality is that as a human being, you move around in your wheelchair. You move around because you might move yourself, but you also move around from just moving, being moved around and hitting, you know, you catch a wall or a door or something, you'll move within your chair. So I think cushions pressure relief is where you feel comfortable, is how you feel in it, and that's why I think there should be more opportunity to sit in the cushion, not one model. And you can't sit in it for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or sit on a plinth for 5 minutes and hope a pressure mapping will make you feel comfortable, because they're not realistic. I use a cushion called a Stimulite. So I've had pressure sores. So mine's just a really plain honeycomb one, which I like because it's super light. I can put it through the washing machine and I can keep it, and it's comfortable for me. Whereas for me, a J2, I can't tell you how bad that makes me feel. I find them incredibly uncomfortable. So I can't answer why, though. There's no logical reason.
Yeah, as we said earlier, everyone's so different, and that's why it's important to get something that does truly suit you and not just the first thing kind of that's offered. I mean, I know I had to argue for another J2 when I needed another. They didn't want to give me one, and I was like, no, I want the cushion.
Well, yeah, again, stand up for your rights. You've got to fight these things, haven't we?
And if you do that, you've got to be firm and you've got to say, no, this is what is best for me, regardless of what you know.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So you mentioned how these chairs are crash tested, which they can be used in a car. And someone's asking for that. Can like the big 4-point harness be used within these chairs to offer extra stability whilst in the car?
Yep, we've fitted quite a few 4-point harnesses. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I've lost my place again. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Probably the big question that no one can really answer is, why don't wheelchair services offer these?
I will be incredibly, I don't know, I might get shot for this. I fail to understand wheelchair services will do a higher level of money payment for a buggy, a product that supports you and moves you around but doesn't actually help you. They will spend thousands on seating, but they will only send us a few £100s on kids' chairs to be active. Years ago, there was a study done, and it said that if we get the kids active now, and this is what I think Sweden and America lead us on, is if you get kids active and moving now, you can make their lives different in a tangible way. You've got to do it as soon as possible, and you can also make parents' lives easier. you can also mean that that kid will be healthier, which means you might save the government, the country, more costs in the future for medical needs and stuff like that. There's so many more benefits to it. And the most controversial thing I will say is that most of the therapists are issuing the wheelchair services, wheelchairs today are female women. They probably will have had children or know children. And I'm sure they would never put their child in the chairs they give, given a choice. And for me, I find it hard to understand that. I really do. You know, I lived the process. I mean, my first wheelchairs were tanks. I'm 60, so my first wheelchairs weighed an absolute ton compared to today. But I got active chairs really young. I mean, I got my first one at 16, and that made a huge difference in where I've been in the world and what I've done. So I value that as a thought. But trying to persuade therapists and the government to spend money in that way, but I say they will spend money in other ways that I don't understand. They spend more where it doesn't help. I don't get it. Anyway, yeah. Sorry. End of lecturing.
One of those questions, isn't it? You've got to be careful because it's not untrue. Can like push handles or anything be added on so that parents can take over if the child gets tired?
Every Pantera pretty much has a push handle or pram handle. You can have a single pram, a full pram. You can have height adjustable, separate handles. As you get to the Pantera range, actually uniquely, when you get to the bigger sizes, has one of the easiest height adjustable foldable handle systems you've ever seen. Has an anti-tip, swing away anti-tip systems that can be done by the user in the chair as well as the parents. You've got armrests and soft armrests that are multi-changeable, including flexible tops, so you keep your clothes clean, but you can't damage yourself. And they do unique brakes. They've got some special, really good brake systems. So Pantera have thought about what the user does. And because Pantera, the main designer is a guy called Jala Jugnal, and he is a disabled person who's spent his life redesigning wheelchairs, and he's all about what it is for the user. That's why these chairs are good prices compared to like the titanium ones you see advertised, the super lights, these custom made ones, because Jala doesn't believe in doing chairs at high prices. He wants everybody to be having an opportunity.
Okay. And someone's asking, can a battery pack be added on to be able to use the chair as a power wheelchair? And I think they're thinking along the lines of, because these chairs are a lot smaller and lighter to take travelling with them, so they might be better to be going on holiday with, but they'd need the use of the power chair as well.
Yeah, so again, okay, so lightweight, the power chairs, there's certain models of power assist that can turn a manual wheelchair into. Alba do a range, Benoit does some, but they don't really work on the smaller kids' chairs yet. But what's been happening recently is we've had several forms of technological advances. So you've got Smart Drive and Smooth, which are power assist motors that drop on, and they're operated by a tapping system to provide you along. Now, for very young kids, that's still a problem, I feel. But we're currently doing a couple where we are fitting. Have you seen these bikes that clip onto the front of your wheelchairs and they turn you into a little motorbike?
They look like little motorbike fronts, yeah. There's actually on this. We have got a question on this, so you're probably going to cover it now as well.
Okay, so these are hugely popular. They have been around for years in a big size. Vincent Ross designed one that was PDQ on Tomorrow's World years ago, and they were big, monstrous things, and they're really heavy to put on your chair, but they really let you go without a car many places. But today we have a whole range of smaller ones, from tiny wheels to big wheels for going off-roading, just around the streets and stuff like that. So, for example, on Panteras, we fit a kid's tri-ride, which we can fit on, and we can put a speed limiter on, and it means that it turns the child into a small motorbike, really, and they can just steer and drive and brake and do that. Obviously, we do lots of testing, and you have to try these things. You don't just buy them and stick them on. But these type of products give, I don't know, I think they're quite cool. They put them, you know, kids have bikes, so why not us? And if you could travel with them on the plane, take them on holiday with you, and they take up far less room than any power chairs. They're lighter. Pretty much all the power assist systems like Alba do would be heavier. The one wheel will be as heavy as the entire bike. So, you know, you've just got plus, plus, plus across the line. So if they can reach it and they can function, they can understand it, it's a good choice nowadays.
And plus, if you have got one of these very expensive power chairs, you avoid the risk of it being broken by the airline, because I think that's a big worry for a lot of wheelchair users.
We were based at Heathrow Airport with one of our branches, which I lived at near Heathrow Airport for 30 years. I would not like to calculate how much money has been spent on repairing wheelchairs, and how much tragedy I've seen from that. And we've had meetings with them. I've been to, there's loads of efforts trying to stop it. It's an irony to me that it mostly happens coming back into the UK. You have less problems going anywhere else in the world, but coming back into the UK, you seem to see a lot of damage. I don't know why.
I've never flown. We always have opted for cruises because we just don't want to risk it, because it'd literally ruin your holiday. Imagine getting a holiday and your chair doesn't work and you're completely stuck. It must be absolutely awful. And even coming back to get home, and I think a lot of the time people forget that these are literally our legs, and they are so small.
Yeah, I've had to ship parts all over the world. I've had to lend equipment. We've had to hire equipment to people coming in from other countries. Yeah, it's the damage toll is huge on the person and stuff like that. It's not nice. I always advise people to have a travel chair, fully insure it, and never take your best chair with you. But not everybody has the money to do that, I'm afraid.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I've got another question. Are you able to offer these chairs on like a trial period to see if the person can genuinely use them in a real setting? I'd never sell a wheelchair to anybody without them trying it and us helping and looking at assessment, because as wheelchair users, we can give a bit of advice, we can give a bit of confidence and support, and it gives us an opportunity to see how they do. If I thought somebody looked like it would be very difficult for them, I'd rather not sell the chair. It's not about selling here, it's about getting people mobile. But yeah, you should always try a chair. Unfortunately, because we're a very small company and most of us have lots of equipment, your trial periods are always very short. But we have lent products for a week before when we're not sure. When I'm sure it's going to work, I will push them to do it as soon as possible. But if I'm not sure, then yeah, we would lend something for a week. Okay, and where are you based if people are wanting to travel to get an assessment, or are you able to travel to people?
Currently, we sort of we're in strange times generally at the moment. But we're based on the south coast, but we have dealers. We have a whole range of dealers across the UK, in right through the middle, really, right up to Newcastle. The chairs I'm talking about, I think we're doing a couple in Scotland at the moment. We've got quite a few in Scotland. So we have areas. Well, there's a Welsh branch, there's a West Midlands company, so we will send them to the nearest people that would be able to assist, really, and then we send if they need support, we send it to them.
Okay, and final question, and then I'm going to leave you to your evening, because we're at nearly 8. Well, we are at 8 o'clock now, and you've done this in your own time, and we are very, very thankful for that. Is what charities can people look to for help?
Okay, there is a list of kids' charities you can go through the Charity Commission on and get to download a list, and the national ones. I would personally advise people, if they're in a hurry, to look for the local charities they will see. Your local councils might have a list of local charities doing good works and stuff like that, who want to do it. I mean, it depends what region you are, but pretty much every region has some charities working on there that are doing it. They can be, I've met several groups are just like people who have retired, have money and like to raise money and then do good deeds. And there's quite a few of those around now. It became very popular. But if you go to the big charities, like everybody knows the names of, you can be on a waiting list for a year and you still may not get a choice of what you want. But the Charity Commission does have a search engine and a list of other charities. You know, you can search by criteria on that. And I would talk maybe even to the local wheelchair service to see if they've had any contacts for people.
Okay, great.
It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, by the way.
No, it's not. And I think the older you get, the more difficult it gets as well.
Well, I think as you'll find out now, because once you pass 26, it gets almost impossible. You really have to work hard then.
This is what, when my last chair, it was on like kind of like its last, like it was ready to retire. Do you know what I mean? And it was just before I turned 25, and I was sat there like, if this had been a year later, there'd have been nothing. I think there'd have been one charity out of all the charities that helped me that would have provided funding for someone over 25, which is really difficult. So
I think it's not easy. I mean, and many wheelchair users, disabled people generally, are not on high incomes, and you've got other costs. We've got so many other costs we're also incurring, although, you know, and so you end up taking what you can get, really, which is where the wheelchair service will always have the advantage. Is we're almost a captive audience, aren't we, really, in that way?
Yeah, we need it. We've not really got, if they're only willing to give us one thing, then that's what we have to take, isn't it? And
yeah. No, I walk out of it. Oh shit, I can't.
I think they've got us in the situation because, like, for example, if my chair had lasted another year and it literally started to fall apart on me like it did, I wouldn't have had the option to sit and fight for however long to go through appeals and stuff. I'd have needed a chair, you know, otherwise I'd have been in bed.
One of the things has happened, unfortunately, is the certain manufacturers have gone around dealers and gone straight into the NHS, and they have started to get numbers up. They've reduced their prices, so they sell a product that you have to pay 3 times the amount for, nearly. Yeah. But so the NHS will offer you a voucher based on what they pay. It is so not realistic to what you would have to pay if you bought it privately that it's not a fair comparison at all.
Yeah, no, and it's also, they tell you what they will provide, but they don't necessarily provide the features you need. Like a lot of the features that I need were for pain relief, but that's not classed as a medical need. So then that wasn't on the quote that they provided to base how much my chair will cost. So it wasn't a true reflection of what.
No, I don't know if you've ever read it, but the criteria for issuing is they're there to provide equipment to assist you. It doesn't have to be the best, and it has to just be, as I say, so they hide behind that. If they've provided something, that's enough, really. They do limit, the criteria is really tight now and got much tighter the last 5 years.
I mean, it's really difficult because we should be, the NHS is a brilliant thing, and I think that a lot of us would want to be without it, and I think we are thankful for the NHS, but I think at times it doesn't always help.
I'm totally grateful to the NHS. I wouldn't be alive today without it. And that's a fact of truth. But the NHS is a huge body, and the wheelchair service is not considered. Wheelchair service is part of the NHS, but it's not a priority service. It's an additional service. So therefore, it's not the same people we're criticising. It's not the same system we're criticising, because it's the service that will always be cut in order to provide all the other services that we probably all used as well. So it's you know, you look at other disability groups, strokes in this country, you know, multiple sclerosis, you know, there are so many groups are just written off by these schemes.
Yeah, it's wrong. It's so wrong. But anyway, thank you so much for doing this for us. Do you want to just remind us of like your website and stuff if people are interested?
Yeah, our website is gblwheelchairs.com. We're based in Sussex now because I'm trying to retire and slow down, but as I say, we run a network, and if anybody wants to just contact and any questions, please feel free to go on in.
I think 1 second. I think you've muted, but yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on, but we can't hear you. But Ian was just saying, yeah, we can't hear you. This was going on just before we went live, wasn't it? And at least we got through the live, but I'll just say it's gblwheelchairs.com, and you can get in contact with them if you have any further questions or are interested in looking at the wheelchairs further. Again, I just want to say thank you, Ian. It's been brilliant. We were scheduled to have a live on Wednesday. However, unfortunately, and that was with Roche, but unfortunately it's had to be cancelled. But on Wednesday, we will be having a video created by our very own geek, Andy, who is also a trustee, looking at the Draco robotic arm and how it can help people with SMA. So we hope you find that useful, and we will see you later. Bye.